What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about strength training for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Check it out. So of course, if you clicked on this video, your initial question is, should you or do you need to be doing strength training? I would think that's what led you here as far as should you, or you clicked on it because you wanted to know what kind of strength training to do if you felt that strength training was a good companion to your jiu-jitsu training. I believe Helio Gracie said that jiu-jitsu is the triumph of intelligence over brute strength. And if you know anything about the Gracies and the creation of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you would know that story that Helio was the smaller of all the brothers, and he used jiu-jitsu to kind of close the gap against bigger opponents and so forth. And that's kind of what jiu-jitsu is hailed as, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is hailed as, is like a smaller opponent can take on a larger, stronger opponent. Now, in the most basic sense, I agree with that, but a lot of people have come out saying recently that that's not true. Now, I'm going to challenge that in the sense that it's not that it's not true, okay? If you are an untrained person and you're larger than a trained person, that trained person who's smaller and maybe weaker will be able to give you problems, if not finish you, because regardless of how big or strong you are untrained. Where strength comes into play when it comes to grappling or jiu-jitsu is when we are about the same skill level, or maybe even if a higher belt that is a smaller is against a lower belt that's bigger and stronger, they may close the gap with their strength a little bit. So if we're both trained in grappling, now your strength is going to be a factor. So should you strength train when doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or grappling, no-gi, any kind of grappling? Absolutely. You should be strength training or resistance training if you do any martial arts. All that's going to do is enhance your ability to do that art. It's obviously going to give you strength, but it can also give you balance. It can give you muscle stamina. Also, it'll just protect your body against the impact that happens in martial arts, specifically in grappling. So you want to make sure your body's strong in general. That takes me to the next question. What type of strength training should you engage in? I would say bro split training, or what like I call it bro split, like bodybuilding training. Isolated lifting like that it has its place, but it's not going to help you overall, I don't believe. Powerlifting can be helpful because of certain motions. It'll give you strength, obviously, in a squat and a deadlift. But again, it's not enough. I truly believe the best means of strength training would be functional strength training or functional fitness, because you're using compound movements, which is how your body would be moving in a grappling situation, and you're strong in these compound movements. And then other functional training methods such as like bodyweight strength resistance training and bands and so forth. It will help with muscle stamina. Again, just moving your body around. I tell people all the time, how are you going to be good at these martial arts that we train if you're not even good at moving your own body weight, or just you're awkward at moving your body around? Functional training methods, again, bodyweight, resistance bands. I really got into kettlebells for jiu-jitsu just because of the hip and core strength, and that's where my strength in grappling comes from. And I've been told that before. I'm not strong as far as my upper body or my legs. It's my core strength, and that's from a lot of kettlebell training, the kettlebell swings, and again, swinging weight away from your body and keeping your core tight. So one of my professors way back in the day was obsessed with kettlebell training to improve his jiu-jitsu, so he kind of got us on that, and I just kept going with it. So I would suggest some kettlebells, obviously, but kettlebells are a good functional training apparatus, so you should look into that as well. Of course, grip strength training is always a good thing. I'll put a card up here, but I did do a video on how I work my grip strength. But, if you're serious about your jiu-jitsu, you definitely want to have a decent grip. So you want to work on your grip strength. And any kind of weight training is going to help with that, but there's also some accessory things you could do to really hone in on your grip strength. Next question I would imagine would be, what body parts should you function on with strength training? right off the bat, it's an easy answer. It's all. And that's why I'm telling you, you should be looking at compound movements or functional strength training. But for me, when I really dial into what I specifically want to keep strong for the longevity and for my abilities during the rolls, I would say would be my legs and my back. Those take a front seat for me. And then of course, through working those things, you want to keep your core strength. So like keeping my trunk strong, keeping my legs strong. We're going to use our legs in all these positions. You want to have the muscle stamina in certain holds and just movements. You want to be comfortable in those movements, and you want to be strong in those movements. As far as keeping your back strong, you have to. With anyone who starts rolling and they're not doing a strength or resistance training routine on the side, they'll tell you, you're going to have some kind of back issues. Even if you are doing strength training aside, most people who get into jiu-jitsu is going to end up with some kind of back problem or knees and leg problems at some point. So learning to strength train as far as strengthening your legs the right way, keeping your core and your back strong the right way, this will only benefit you, again, as far as longevity in the martial art or the sport and your strength and abilities while doing jiu-jitsu. Lastly is like, how often should you strength train or should you do resistance training? So my routine, and this is what I would suggest to you, if you have the time, at least 2 days of heavy lifting. And and when I say that, my whole session isn't heavy lifting. I'll probably be doing some kind of functional routine or a CrossFit WOD of some kind, and then I'll mix a heavy lift into it at the beginning or at the end, primarily, usually at the end. So, and then sometimes I do like a heavy session, like a powerlifting session, some heavy bench, heavy deadlift, or heavy squat. But just 2 days of heavy. You don't want to have more than that. Beyond that, the next 3 or 4 days of the week, I usually do just resistance training, body weight, or again, the resistance training methods that I mentioned before as far as keeping it functional and minimal resistance to moderate resistance. And then I just go high volume on the reps. With that type of strength training routine, I'm doing strength training 5 to 6 days a week. That's just my routine. 3 days, I've always been told, and I've always held to this to be fact, that 3 days is pretty much maintenance. And if you want to see gains, you're looking at 4 or 5 days if you want to see progression. So I just, sometimes it's a 20-minute session depending on the WOD I'm doing. Sometimes it's an hour of lifting. It all depends on what programming I've mapped out for that session. But I do minimum of 5 days and sometimes a 6th day in there. So guys, that's my 2 cents on strength training for your jiu-jitsu, or strength training to improve your Brazilian jiu-jitsu. At the very base level of my beliefs regarding martial arts, I believe that you need strength and conditioning to enhance your martial arts. So give it some thought. And if you haven't started strength training, you need to, especially if you're serious about your jiu-jitsu. I mean, there are some guys who just show up and train and do that, and they may get away with it, and they may get away with it for so long. But I just feel it's the ultimate companion, and it is absolutely necessary to kind of level up as a grappler. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you liked the information that was provided. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe so we can keep this thing going. We really appreciate the support. And remember, keep fighting for fit, no excuses, and I will see you in the next video.